Hey guys. Hi, there we go. Alright, we got some people hopping in here. Hi. I'm Brienne. Nice to meet you all. Cyber, meet you. If you guys can hear me, why don't you throw some hearts up in there so that I can make sure that everybody can hear. Oh, good. Good. We've got some sound. I am out here in sort of the North Los Angeles area. I'd love to know where some of you guys are from so that we can share. I love knowing that, so that's always cool to know. We got people jumping in from all over the place. Awesome. Anybody else from California? Florida, woohoo! Hi, Andrew from California. Cayman Islands, awesome. I have not been there in a long time, but it's gorgeous. San Diego, hometown. Cool. Yay, Chicago. I was just there in July. You have a pretty city, prettier than LA. Okay, well, I'm gonna show you a few things with the prep. Sort of the night before an underwater shoot is always a little bit like the calm before the storm, really. So I like to get all my stuff pulled together, get everything ready to go. It takes a little while to pack up in the car in the morning. Tomorrow's shoot is going to be an underwater maternity session, and that is going to be happening at 9 a.m. for makeup-ish. And we should hopefully be in the water by about 10:30 or a little before. So we are going to try to periscope some of that tomorrow, some of the prep before she's in the water and some of the in the water stuff too. If you want to join tomorrow, that would be awesome. That's the goal. I'm going to turn this camera on and kind of show you some of the stuff I've got laid out around here. Free to throw them up in the chat, and I'm going to try to answer everything. So you can see I kind of have everything scattered around my crazy home office. The two things that I usually get asked first is what gear do I use, and then what do I do to protect my camera. So I've got most of my stuff here that I'm going to need tomorrow pulled into my bag. This guy right here, this is my baby. This is my Sony A7. I do shoot Sony. I've got a pretty hodgepodge mix of gear in here. I actually have some of my Nikon lenses. I was Nikon for 8 years before I switched to Sony a couple years ago. So I've got a mix. I've got my Sigma 50 1.4 art in there. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. This is going to be the bad boy that's going to be doing most of the work tomorrow. This is the Sony A7. It's a full frame mirrorless camera. I've got the LAEA4 adapter on there, and then this lens is going to be a 16 to 50 millimeter f2.8. Also a Sony lens. I am probably going to be shooting almost exclusively at 16 millimeters tomorrow. That's mostly because when you are underwater, the water acts almost like another lens, so you really want to be as close as possible to your subjects to keep everything clear. If needed, I've got, this is my A77, this is my backup if I need it, but this is going to be doing the bulk of the work. The housing that I have is going to actually be able to hold both of those, but I'll show you that now actually, through all of the other stuff. So this is actually the housing I'm going to use. I get asked about this one a lot. This, it's a water bag housing. This particular one is made by Decapac. They're okay. They're certainly a little bit more affordable. There's a little bit of a learning curve to making sure that you put this on your camera correctly. There's sort of like almost like a glorified Ziploc top to this. There's a lot of different Velcro pieces, etc., etc. But this allows me to use both of my cameras in it. The housing I actually prefer has not arrived yet, and that one is the Ewa Marine. But it's the same concept. It's a water bag. I prefer water bags to a hard shell case because if a hard shell case springs a leak, your gear is destroyed, basically, because of the pressurization. If you spring a leak, the whole thing floods. With a water bag, if it does leak, it's going to be a really slow leak and you've got a chance to catch it and to save your gear. So I actually prefer this method to the crazy, Nauticam or Icolite or whatever housings that a lot of other people use. So that's what's going to hold my camera tomorrow in the water. I'm going to be shooting on that A7 with that 16 to 50 millimeter lens. The other kind of crucial gear is this which is my wetsuit. The water is fairly warm, but when you're in it for a long period of time, you kind of need to stay warm. So there's that. I've got my mask, I've got my flippers, and then pretty crucial piece is actually going to be this, which is my weight belt. It's very hard to stay under the water. With the buoyancy, especially because I'm in a saline pool, which adds a little bit more buoyancy. So it's a little bit more difficult to stay under if I don't have some added weight, especially with the wetsuit. The weight belt is going to help me stay down when I need to when I'm shooting. So that's why I have one. I also have a few other pieces here that I'm going to be bringing with. I always bring reflectors. Kind of nice to be able to pop in a little bit of extra light if I need it. I've got a giant bag here that is full of fabrics. I've got gold. This is actually one of my favorites right here. This purple that's like sort of an ombre. Oop, can't see it. There you go. Gold, pink. This orange one over here actually turns red in the water. This one. So lots of different stuff that I bring. I do not usually put people in full dresses, and that's going to be especially true for tomorrow. With a pregnant mama that we're working with, I prefer to put people in fabric and take multiple shots that we can then composite into something similar to, for example, that shot up there. That is a composite with the green fabric that I have, because it's safer. And when you're working with underwater photos, safety's really got to be pretty much the first concern. So everybody has to be able to swim, and everybody has to be able to keep swimming during the shoot. So I use a lot of fabric instead of dresses and do compositing that way. Nobody's legs are ever tied up. Everybody can always swim, and at any point the model can just get up and get air. That's also primarily because I work with real people. I don't do a lot of work with freedivers or professional underwater models, not that there's many of those. So I need them to feel comfortable and feel like they know that they can get into air anytime. So yeah, this is actually that green fabric. That one is the same one that's in that picture up there. That picture up there is actually a little bit of an exception. She was in a regular dress, but actually if you look at it, if she stood up, she would have been out of the water. So that's part of the exception. And we'll do that with our model tomorrow, who will be bringing one dress with her, but she's going to be staying in the shallow end for that. So just heads up on that. I also bring, a couple other things. This is light stands, by the way. And then this, let me turn this. This is actually my favorite light to bring for underwater, or probably anything really. This bad boy, this is my ring light, my 18-inch ring light, my Diva light. This I do not put in the water, but I do oftentimes put it out on one of the light stands and then hang it over the top of the water and shine the light, because it is a very bright constant light. I will shine that down into the water, and that gives you different effects, kind of like what you see in that shot up there, where you have glow on the top of the water line. I like to do that a lot, so this is one of my favorite ones. This is also one that I like to pull out if I'm going to be doing any kind of night shooting. Tomorrow is going to be morning, lots of bright sun, so we're not going to be needing nearly as much kicker light, but that's why we're going to bring the reflectors. For backdrops, I'm bringing a couple tomorrow. It's going to be the main one, which is just sort of a standard black backdrop, 12 by 12, I think. It's great. It's actually like a fleecy, kind of looks like a giant fleece blanket, really. I mean, it's officially a photography backdrop, but you could probably just buy a giant fleece blanket and drop it in the water. It absorbs a lot of the light, which is why I like it. That's kind of awesome for when I want to have a really solid black backdrop in a pool, especially with the ribbons of light that are coming through. Having that be a little bit thicker is great. Plus, it also means that when I get home, I can just throw that up on the clothesline or over the top of the shower or something, let it drip dry, and it's really easy to deal with. The other backdrops are these guys that are hanging up over here. One of those, the lower one, I don't know if you can see that, but he's kind of hanging behind a little bit. That's my 10 by 20 cotton. It's gray. Same thing, it's going to dry really easily. And then that's my favorite backdrop on the top, which is my super sparkly gold. I love bringing this one in the water. You can kind of see just the way that it catches the light is kind of amazing. And if you know anything about me, I'm a little bit obsessed with all things gold. So this is definitely one of my favorite ones to bring in. It's a little bit on the smaller side. Oh yeah, an example with the gold. If you want to see an example with the gold, actually I have my Instagram or the Facebook page. You'll be able to see one that I did recently with the gold, which was a ton of fun. My Instagram is Brienne Michelle, all one word. And you can find me on Facebook at Brienne Michelle Photography. And you will see a backdrop that I did. I used that backdrop recently. We actually brought it all the way down into the water and wrapped her around with it. And she had like cool pink fabric wrapped around her. It's amazing. And it sparkles really, really cool. So check that out. There's a couple more, some of the other gold fabrics that I've used from a little bit ways back. But if you go to the Facebook page and click on underwater photography, you'll see several with gold because it's kind of my thing. Does anybody have questions about gear? What I'm bringing, why I'm bringing it, what I'm not bringing? Lots of fabric, lights, weight belt, fins, mask. Very important to have a mask or I can't see or shoot. The name of my soft case for the underwater housing. This guy right here. It's made by Dicapac. It's D-I-C-A-P-A-C. It's a very affordable way to get into underwater photography, to wrap up your DSLR. It has a little bit of a learning curve, so make sure that you really, really, really have it sealed, test it every time. There is a better option that's made by a company called EWA Marine, E-W-A, and then Marine, like Marine. And theirs is the same concept, but it's a little bit easier to use and a little bit better made. This one I've used for a couple of years and I like it and I'm comfortable with it, but I have switched to the EWA Marine. I just don't have it with me for tomorrow because it's en route. I'll be going ahead and using that one for tomorrow, but you'll see it works out pretty easy. It's fairly simple to use, and it also works with both of my camera bodies and multiple lenses, which is really nice. If you get those hard case ones for underwater photography, they are very, very, very specific to your actual specific camera body and the specific lens that you're putting on it. And they're really, really expensive. So if you want to invest in that, that's great, but there's some downsides to it. It's also a little bit limiting. It's not my preferred method because, again, of that leaking problem that I try to avoid. So I am bringing this in case. This is a really cool garlandy thing that I found. It's like magnolia leaves. So it's got that really pretty kind of brown, caramely brown color on the back. The green in the front. There's a little bit of a matte powdered finish to it. If anybody saw the milk bath photos that I did recently, this is the ones that we used in that. I really like it, so I'm bringing it with just in case. Fake flowers and fake garlands are a little bit easier to use in the water than real ones. Real flowers tend to not stay where you want them to be, and the fake ones just hold up better. So I'll be bringing that with just because I kind of have some ideas in mind for that. I think that's it. That's all the stuff that I've got out and pulled together for tomorrow. I've got backdrops, got gear, wetsuit, etc., etc. The pool tomorrow is amazing. It's a saline pool. I saw somebody ask a question earlier about what a saline pool is. This particular pool is like kind of off the charts amazing, and you'll see why tomorrow. But the saline aspect of it is something that actually a lot of pools can have. It's just a different kind of system for filtering and chlorinating, or instead of chlorine, they use saline. It's just for keeping the water clean. Chlorine is a little bit harsh on models and fabric and all of that. You can shoot in it. It's just not nearly as comfortable. Saline is wonderful because it's non-destructive to the fabric, non-destructive to any clothing that the model wants to bring in, and it doesn't hurt the eyes if they're going to keep their eyes open under the water. So that's kind of a nice bonus for tomorrow. I definitely prefer saline. If I can shoot in saline, I'm going to do that every time. The only flip side to that is that it makes you and the model slightly more buoyant than normal. But there's ways to combat that, and we'll show you some of those tomorrow. I think that's it. If anybody else has any questions, throw them in the chat real quick. Otherwise, plan to swipe right so that you can subscribe so that you'll get the notification for tomorrow. We are planning, good question. We are planning on starting at about 9:15 for makeup, and it'll be really cool to see. My makeup artist is amazing. Alex is she's off the charts, and she really has it down to a science of how to make makeup work that will actually stay put under the water. So we'll show you a little bit of her working with Raylan tomorrow, and then we'll show you a little bit of the actual shoot. So we're going to start probably around 9:15. We'll take a little break while we're getting set up, come back probably 10:30ish when we're in the water. Yes, that's Pacific because I'm in California. So early morning, well, early-ish morning for me. Later if you are a little bit further away in a different time zone. So yeah, go ahead and grab that tomorrow. Keep swipe right so you can subscribe. That way that you can get the notification when we go live. Yeah, 12:15 Eastern. That's correct. That would be when we start makeup. And then 1:30ish Eastern for getting in the water. And we will be done by noon Pacific, just so you know. So 3 Eastern. Because for sure going to be ending at that time at the pool tomorrow. Okay, that's it. If anybody else has any questions, throw them in quick. Otherwise, I will hopefully see you guys tuning in tomorrow to see a little bit of the magic. Heads up, I'm probably going to have to flip the phone upside down while we're in the water. Otherwise, it loses feed. So just know that that's probably going to happen. Have as many people join as you think are going to be interested. It's going to be really cool. And underwater maternity is definitely a little bit different than regular underwater. So it'll be great. There's a little bit of added buoyancy issues with, carrying a baby. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.